Hello everyone, this is Isabella from Core Energy Healing Mobile. I hope you have a great day. Today I would like to talk about emotions, energy in motion. Emotions come and go, and sometimes we have control of them over them, and sometimes we don't. And I'm sure we all know what it means when we lose control over emotions. Um, in the beginning, I would just like to kind of suggest please never, under any circumstances, make any decisions, start difficult talks, or make choices based on emotions when you're in unstable emotional state, because most of the time it's going to end up not well for you. And if you can just step away for a moment and breathe and calm down, you will save yourself a lot of trouble. And especially the fact that very often when we go emotional, we say things that might hurt other people, and then we will feel very, very guilty about it. So no actions under emotions, please. um, there are two kinds of emotions that I think exist. The first one is actually not very difficult to notice. It's usually caused by our low level of energy. Yes. So I think you probably remember from my previous videos that when we are under stress, when we are in difficult situation, tired or depleted, our energy level goes down, right? And when the energy level goes down, our mental state starts to act out. We start to overthink, overanalyze. We start to create scenarios in our head that are not always really true. And those negative thoughts will create negative emotions. And those negative emotions, not only then that they create more negative thoughts, but they also are energetically very depleting, and we lose energy, and then we have less to protect our mental and emotional state. And emotions start to, and thoughts, they start to rule the house and basically trash the house. But you know what I mean. Here it's that just we have completely no control of what's happening with our emotions. So in this case, the thing is to charge ourselves, to learn how to keep our energy. And I invite you to watch my other videos, previous videos, where I talk about it. Generally, when you start snapping, when you start energetically, emotionally reacting, that's the sign for you that you need to do some work. It's not about other people. Please remember, we need to take responsibility for our actions. And when you start snapping, you have problem, not other people. You're depleted, and you need to recharge yourself and how to say, get yourself better. Please remember that getting angry or getting frustrated or snapping, it is the sign of you losing control. It is the sign of your weakness, because when you are energetically stable, you have no problem with controlling your emotions, and have a much, much healthier life. The second kind of belief, it's a little bit more difficult to deal with, because it's based on false beliefs and negative thought forms that mostly were created in our childhood or early stage of development, but sometimes also in adulthood, in some traumatic situations. I would say there are two subcategories here, so let's start with the first one. So the first one is negative thought forms and beliefs that were created because somebody told us about who we are, or bad stuff about who we are. Let's say somebody told us that we are not smart enough, and the teacher told us that you're not smart because you can't do science well, and then your parents told you that you're not smart enough because the teacher told them, and the family, everybody was good at science and you're not good at science, and then you start to believe that that's true, and you take other people's opinions as true, which actually is not, because we are all different, we have different gifts, and not everybody is good at science. I'm the best example of that because I'm really bad at science, but it absolutely doesn't affect my intelligence because I'm good at other things like learning languages, because this for me is simple, easy, and pleasure to learn, right? But when we are children, we are really vulnerable, and we trust adults, we trust other people, and we truly believe that this is what it is, and then we start to pile up the information. Like somebody will tell us again that we are not smart enough, and it will be like, okay, let's add it to our knowledge of ourselves. Yes, we're not smart. If then somebody tells us, oh, you're really smart, we'll be like, he has like a good day, or that's not fitting your agenda, so we will dismiss it because it's just like not what we think it is. And the problem is that then we live 20 years of our life or 30 years of our life or more believing that we are a failure just because we can't solve some science stuff, and it starts to affect every aspect of our life because we start to think that we are failures in other areas, and if our marriage will fall down, we'll be like, oh, I'm a failure, and other things fall down. Yes, I'm a failure, that's of course, I'm a failure. So but then those emotions of the feeling of failure, this creates so much low self-esteem and self-doubt, self-criticizing, all those negative emotions that then those emotions, then they just stay within us. They just kind of eat us from inside and can really cause a lot of actually health issues. So we need to learn how to release them. The second subcategory is negative beliefs and false beliefs and negative thought forms that actually we created. Usually it happens in early childhood because as children we don't have a good perception of the situation. We just know black and white, and we don't know all the other shades of gray in between, and because we don't have enough experience to properly analyze what we see most of the time. So let's imagine the scenario that the parents are fighting, and you come inside, and let's say father shouts at you and says, get out, and the first reaction that you will have is that, what did I do? It's my fault. Maybe they're fighting because of me. We start to making assumption. If it happens one more time, then we truly believe that our father doesn't love us. And then we build up the agenda, like if our father does it again, then we say, yeah, of course he doesn't love us. It just proves the point. If he's nice, then we will be like, oh well, he had a better day. And we start to believe that we are unloved, that we are not worth, that maybe we are even the reason that our parents are fighting. Of course, it probably very often is not the truth, because maybe your father just lost the job, his energy level was very low, he was just snapping because he was exhausted, tired, stressed about the situation, and but we interpret it as lack of love for us. And then everybody, of course, it becomes a trigger, and everybody who says something like that, we interpret it that that resonates to lack of love, just because of what we saw and what we interpreted as children. And problem is that this is based not on truth, because you don't know what happened. Plus, we also have to remember that those people could have been in the place where they didn't knew any better. They didn't have any other tools, and they didn't even know how to be parents. It's also possible, right? There are many reasons why people behave certain ways, and we often make assumptions, like we as adults make assumption, even though we have all those tools and we know a lot. And the kids, well, they just interpret it all their way. And very often, from my experience with my clients, very often most of those things are not true. I'm not saying everything, because of course some of us have very difficult childhood and have the right to feel bad about or feel like failure. I mean, they don't have the right, but they, were taught this, or their parents really didn't love them. It happens. But in most of the situation, it is our interpretation of the situation. Also, I would like to I would like you to understand that very often when people tell us and criticize us as children or as adults, very often those people have very serious problems with themselves. There's nothing about you. We need to learn not to take things personally, okay? Whatever somebody says, it's not about us, it's about them and how how they feel. And very often the problem is that people who are the most critical about others, they have a lot of issues that they deal with. They just when they dump it on other people, when they criticize other people, it makes them feel a little bit better about themselves, and we then take it personally, and we think it's all about us and us having issues and problems, which is not true at all. So with those negative thought forms and false beliefs created emotion, the best way to deal with them is to truly be aware and realize and really ask yourself, is it really true what we think it's based on? Because, getting to the root cause and actually identifying where this emotion is coming from, like really, can be very helpful. Of course it will not be very easy, and we will be triggered, and we also will have to face the situations that we have to admit that we for 20 years or so we were thinking wrongly about ourselves. So we need to also find a space of self-forgiveness for that. I invite you, if you're interested, to come to my studio, and there is a new service available. It's called Energetic and Spiritual Counseling, and in this particular session we will just go really deep into finding the root cause of your emotional state, and figuring out how we can eliminate it from your life, how can we get it out of your system and help you have a much healthier and better life. Thank you so much for listening, and if you have any problems, please send me a message, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.